Good morning, everyone. You are listening to, well, you were listening to the morning show. Then we had North Township come in and they gave us a recap of the year and all the things that they have done and are planning to do in the coming year of 2026. And then now it is Adrianna in the AM. Good morning, everyone. It is currently 8:22 a.m. If the camera would focus. Wow, that was so bad. Let me fix this camera actually. Let's see here. So you guys got me for about 30 minutes, and then we have Mastering Local Marketing coming on for their 99th and 100th episode for today. I told Jim before he left, I was like, do you guys got some balloons to celebrate, some confetti, and or maybe a coaster so I don't have to keep hearing the clanking of his coffee mug on the glass table that they have there. But first, we are going to take a look at traffic and weather. So let's see here. We did have it was a video, and I can show that actually right now of the traffic we were talking about earlier. I don't know if it's still there. We're going to take a look right now, but this is the video if it wants to play. With my luck, it wouldn't. We've had a lot of technical difficulties today, but we'll leave that right there. And if it plays, it plays. If not, oh, that's okay. So currently, right now, in the Northwest region, traffic's actually looking pretty good. 80 going east and west is looking good. Chicago Skyways is looking good. Lakeshore Drive is looking pretty good. You're going to have a little bit of traffic right there on the connector to Dan Ryan Bishop Ford. Actually, wait, no. Just a little bit of traffic right there at the Dan Ryan on 94 going west. There is a slow ramp inbound on the Dan Ryan, Stevenson I-55 north before I-94, and that was about 10 minutes ago. So there's a little bit of slower traffic there. And then also on the Stevenson I-55 south before I-94, it's a bit of a slowdown there. Eisenhower Expressway going east is a little bit heavy in traffic right there by Central Avenue. And then we have let's see here, going west right there on Harlem Avenue. There is slow traffic on I-88 east before I-294. So there's a bit of traffic there. 94 going east is looking really heavy in traffic all the way through West Division Street and Addison Street. So we got a lot of heavy traffic there, but around the airports is actually looking pretty good. So we have that. That video did not want to play the entire time I was doing traffic, so that is okay. Well, there we go. So let's see here. Let's take a look at weather. It is going to be very cold, I will say. Right now at the Stratton Vance Hill Studios, it is 28 degrees. Today we are going to see that as the high. It is mostly cloudy and cold, and tonight's intermittent snow and flurries accumulating to a coating of an inch. Untreaded surfaces will be slippery with a low of 22 degrees. And then moving on for the rest of the week, Friday we see highs of 31 degrees, lows of 6 degrees, mostly cloudy and chilly with a couple of flurries. Watch for slippery spots in the early morning. Saturday we get to the single digits with a high of 9 degrees, a low of -6. We will see frigid with snow and flurries accumulating to coating of an inch. The real feel will be -7. So stay warm on Saturday, and Sunday warms up just 2 degrees, high of 11, low of 2, sunshine, bitter cold, and then we get back into the warmer weather. And on Wednesday, it is going to be a high of 40 degrees, I will say. So that snow that we got will probably all melt away, and then we're going to see a bit of warmer temperatures moving forward for the next week or so. So that's all for your traffic and weather. So oh, let me fix that. There we go. We've had a lot of technical difficulties today, but that is okay. And with the music playing in the beginning, it is Christmas time, so we are going to do different variations of Christmas. And I found that kind of like 50s jazz Christmas music, and I thought that was pretty cool. So here it is. So yeah, I am currently on my last day of finals, so I'm very excited. So that way I can do a little bit more studio work here, as well as hopefully we can get the radio system figured out before moving into the new, well, not new, our old studio. And Matt Kaufman, he has been working on that, and he's actually been doing a pretty good job of clearing out spaces for us, getting us offices and desks, and we are all like teasing each other with like what desk we're gonna get, what chair we're gonna get. So it's pretty fun, and I'm a little excited to go over there, but I'm just hoping it looks kind of similar to what we have here. I like this setup. This is the only setup I've kind of known. So going back to the old studio, let's just hope that it is there, but we will still have the YouTube as well as the radio. I don't know why the YouTube was not working this morning when I got here. I was just trying to get the chat on, and then I guess it's been buffering for a while because it just wasn't showing up. And when we try to get it back on, which has never happened before, so it's a little odd that it did this time around. But now YouTube is working. I guess we just had to restart the stream in itself. So I do got 3 topics to talk about. I have to pull up the article for one of them to make sure that I have all the details for it. I don't know if you guys have heard about the students in, I believe it's Oklahoma State University. Let's see here. Up. I put in Oklahoma and it just gives me the football statistics. I'm like, that's great. Even though I will be talking about the Bears-Packers game because this is really funny because I can actually talk about that first. My friends were telling me to watch the game because the Bears were doing bad. So the moral of that story was last year when the Bears played the Packers. I think it was like January 3rd or 4th that they played them. And it was, yeah, it was January, it's got to be the 4th that they played that Sunday. And I went to Bridges over here in Griffith with my family, and we were watching the game, and everybody came out, and they were all asking me, "Oh, what did you do for your birthday?" When I told them, I was like, "Hey, by the way, I was kind of sick for my birthday." They're like, "So you didn't go out?" I was like, "No, next year." So this year we're gonna actually do stuff, but we're all there for the game, and it was one of those close call games, of course, because the Bears just have to keep us on our toes at all times. They can't just give us a good game. They have to make it interesting for us fans. And we're there at the bar, and my entire family, we're all Bears fans, and one of my family members is actually a Packers fan. So it's pretty funny that she's sitting at a table of Bears fans, and there's one green Packers fan. So we're just like, okay. So anytime the Packers scored a touchdown, she was like celebrating very quietly, as all of us are very upset. But I remember with that game, they won by a field goal. So that when they won the game, because we were like, they're not going to win, and then they did. They pulled through. So then my family goes to tell me, they're like, okay, so every time from now on that the Bears play the Packers, you have to be here and watching the game, and with all of us. I was like, well, what if I work? They're like, too bad. Tell your boss you don't have to work. I was like, okay. So you guys are going to provide the money that I'm not going to make on that Sunday. They're like, yep, we'll do it. I was like, okay. So then this time around, when they were playing, I asked my family, like, hey, are we going anywhere? But I think everybody was working, and they wouldn't be home till like once the game like actually started. So they're like, no, we're not going to go out this time. I was like, okay. So I did my little errands and all that, and I was like, I'll look at the game later on. And my friend, she texted me, and I can pull up the text. She sends me a screenshot, and she sends me a screenshot, and it's from her boyfriend, and because she's like, oh, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm crying because the Bears are terrible. And he said, can you ask Adrianna if she's watching the Bears game? And if not, please tell her to watch it because she said that they win if she watches it. We need all the help we can get. Now, I was like, okay. So I saw that. I started laughing. And I said, I got this. Let me go watch the game. So the moment that I turn on the game is when there's a few seconds left on the clock. Throw the ball, and Green Bay intercepts it. And I text her back like not even 2 minutes later, and I was like, there was an interception. There's no hope. That was terrible. And it wasn't even an interception. They really just said, here's the ball. So let's just hope that on the 20th, I believe that's when they play, that they do somewhat better, because that was a terrible game that they played. And it's one of those, I'm like, okay, just can we please have a game where you guys don't give us heart attacks? That would be great. But the topic that I did want to talk about was the University of Oklahoma and the student that wrote an essay and claimed that it was her views that is the reason why the professor failed her, but in reality, it was actually because she didn't follow the rubric at all. And this has been getting a lot of coverage in the past few weeks. So let's pull this up right now. Let me find a. Here we go. I think. Oh, nope, that's ESPN. See, I'm getting all the college football. I'm like, no, guys, we want the news story, not the college football at the moment in time. Let's see here. Yep. Oh, they actually removed her. Okay. So this was actually a few weeks ago that this was here. Let's see here. So the assignment was for a psychology class, and it was about lifespan development. Students were asked to write a 650-word response to an academic study that examined whether conformity with gender norms was associated with popularity or bullying among middle school students. So the student wrote that she was frustrated by the premise of the article because she doesn't believe that there are more than two genders based on her understanding of the Bible, according to the copy of her essay that was provided for the news sources. So now this essay has been shared everywhere. And the essay was graded out of 25 points, broken down by whether the student demonstrated the understanding of the article and addressed a specific aspect of the argument put forth. And the student received 0. So then the teacher put in her response that she said, "Please note that I am not deducting points because you have certain beliefs." She wrote the teaching assistant who graded the paper, and the professor and the teaching assistant both graded this paper, and said that her paper contradicts itself heavily using personal ideology over empirical evidence in scientific class and is at times offensive. Now, for those times offensive, that is going to come up later. So then the student filed a complaint with the administration, and there was an ongoing debate about academic freedom on a college campus, and her complaints went to the administration, went viral, and some people were backing her up on this without reading this essay. So then I go to read the essay. The girl failed, let alone on the essay, because she didn't complete the word count. First of all, that's already a few points knocked off if you don't hit that word count. 2, there's many sentence fragments in this essay. There's a lot of periods and commas missing within that, as well as her citing of a source. Now, in college, they're going to ask you to do AP style and cite your sources like that. So, again, the assignment was to write a reactionary essay to a study whether the popularity of children is associated with their conformity to prescribed and gender social norms. In her essay, and this is straight from her essay that she wrote, that overall, reading articles such as this one encouraging me to one day raise my children knowing they have a heavenly Father who loves them and cherishes them deeply, and that having their identity firmly rooted in who He is will give them satisfaction and acceptance that a world can never provide for them. My prayer for the world is, and specifically for American society and youth, is that they would not believe lies being spread from Satan that make them believe that they are better off as another gender than what God made them. Pray that they feel God's love and acceptance as who He originally created them to be. And then after that, she goes on to cite the Bible. Even in theology classes, when you cite the Bible, you have to cite it properly. She didn't do that. She put quotations, and then that was it. When you just put quotations and you don't put your citing, you're going to automatically be flagged for plagiarism. Because if those words show up somewhere else, that's plagiarized unless you cite it properly. So she also lost points on that. But also, she didn't answer the rubric. She didn't answer the question. And it was interesting because when the professor gave the response and said that it is at times offensive, the reason why the professor put that in there was because this professor is transgender. Okay, cool. But also, what is interesting as well is that a few weeks prior to this assignment, this grading, this whole scandal of the academics, the University of Oklahoma presented an award to this professor for outstanding graduate teaching award by the Department of Psychology. This distinction honors graduate instructors who demonstrate exceptional teaching skills, dedication to the student growth, and innovation in the classroom. And from there, the girl just couldn't accept that she didn't do the assignment. She didn't do the assignment. She was under the word count, sentence fragments, missing periods, commas, and also she cited the Bible, which in the rubric asked for empirical evidence, which basically means that it needs to be peer-reviewed and or a proper study. And from there, you can't really cite the Bible, regardless of your beliefs or not. And also in her essay, she's basically saying how the reason why it contradicts itself is because in the essay, she says how she wants to, in the nicest way possible I can think of how she's saying this, is that women are supposed to be helpers to men, but then also should submit to their husbands. And okay, fine, if that is your beliefs, cool, whatever. Which it kind of contradicts yourself, because if you're getting an education but you're saying you want to be a housewife, but okay, cool, whatever. Do you. Like, but when you put that in the essay, you're not answering the question. So after all of this, they put the professor on academic leave while they were investigating this. And there are news sources saying that the professor was removed by the university for failing the student for a grade that she actually pretty much deserved, because she failed on everything, even if we don't even look at the beliefs, anything like that. So that Oklahoma's 50th in education, and I was like, okay, I gotta give the state a little bit more credit. Just because there's one bad apple does not make the rest of them bad. But yeah, so that was something that was kind of trending a little bit more so with that I was seeing, at least during this finals week of kind of the world of academics, and with all the people that were kind of backing her up. And some people were saying that this was just a reach to sue the school to get money for it. But, we'll see. I hope that they kind of look more into that, and that the university actually kind of takes a look at that essay and realizes, hey, this was just a really bad essay. But needless to say, I just have no words for that. If they really did remove that professor, it was quite interesting. So, oh no, there's an error on YouTube. That's so fun. Well, no, because I'm still on the air, so that doesn't really make sense. But, okay, so then now, the other thing that I did want to talk about was that we might have something when it comes to healthcare, or at least they are going to disagree once again. So, the Republicans and Democrats are soon going to vote on something for healthcare. They are going to disagree. None of these are going to go through. Regardless if you are for the Democrats, if you're for the Republicans, none of these will go through. Now, that being said, this is what the Democrats are proposing, and then this is what the Republicans are proposing. So, Senate Democrats are proposing the same thing that they were proposing when we were in shutdown. Nothing's changed. Now, why would you propose the same thing, nothing's changed, and think that, okay, well, if we do it for like a fifth time, it's going to go again? No, you have to change something in there. Because what they are still going to be promoting is to extend the Affordable Health Care Act and enhance premium subsidies for 3 more years, and then they'll work with the GOP to fix the ACA systematic problems. If that was not flying by and you weren't getting 60 votes the first few times, what makes you think you're going to get it again? So that's why I'm like, that's not going to work. Now, Senate Republicans actually now have a health care plan. Everybody's saying, where's your health care plan? Where's your health care plan? They'd never had one, and now they do, and it's actually endorsed by Senate leadership. So what is this health care plan? Well, it is called the Healthcare Freedom for Patients Act of 2025. Now, with this act, the ACA's enhanced premium subsidies will expire in 2025. Okay. Now, we already know that's not going to fly. Cool. And then and this is their proposal, from January 2026 to 2028, $1,000 will be deposited into a health savings account for qualified ACA members who sign up for a bronze plan or a catastrophic plan. Now, to qualify for the $1,000, you have to be between the ages of 18 and 46, income less than 700% of the federal poverty line. For people who file singly, or who file as single. I don't think singly is the correct term there. I don't even think that's a word. Who file single and makes less than 1,900, 555. Basically, that makes under $110,000 a year. And for a family of four, it is under $225,000. So if you make less than that, you qualify and you get that money. Now, if you can qualify for $1,500 if you are between the ages of 50 to 64 with income less than the 700, and it is the same thing, same numbers. Now, this does not promise lower out-of-pocket healthcare costs. So that's why I don't think that's going to go pretty much, because you're not really going to do anything about that. And with the money, the health savings account money, it cannot be used for abortion care, and it cannot be used for gender transition services. Okay, there are some healthcare plans that they don't allow that. So that's just kind of thrown in there. And then also with that, the GOP bill sponsor says that by 2027, this plan will reduce ACA premiums by 11% because they will be allocating taxpayer money for cost-sharing reduction payments to health insurance companies. And this will reduce Medicare funding to states that provide any kind of health care coverage to migrants who are here in the U.S. illegally. Now, if the only thing that I don't think that this won't pass is because it doesn't lower healthcare costs. So I don't think any of these will go through. And once these both don't go through, what's the next plan from there? What's the next step? Are we going to compromise, or are we going to get shut down again because we can't figure this out? So I would hope that they have some clearance on that. So we'll see. Now, we do have a phone call, so let's go to that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, John, it's Matt Mack. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. You went off the air for about maybe 35 seconds, then commercials ran, and then you came back on. So I don't know what happened there. But I had a question about the PMW story.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher you said was transgender or something, whatever?
Oh, that was at Oklahoma. Not PNW, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how would they know the teacher's transgender?
So
I mean, do you wear a sign or something, or you declare, or?
So the teacher was out publicly.
If I saw a guy who was gay, who allegedly was gay, how would I know he's gay? So how would I know that teacher would be transgender?
So the teacher made, when they do teach at the beginning of the semester, the teacher made it known that she was transgender. And
Why?
They kind of also with that, the student who wrote the essay took a lot of jabs at those who are transgender, saying how it is by Satan's nature that that's the reason that they're transgender. And the teacher said that that's kind of offensive. In the articles, it came out that, yes, the teacher is transgender, hence why that comment was in the grading rubric, saying that it was offensive, that you kind of just told your teacher, hey, by the way, you're a product of Satan because you decided to not be the gender that you were assigned at birth.
Was it directed directly at the teacher, or was it a comment just made in general regarding, let's say, religious beliefs?
It was a comment regarding religious beliefs, hence why the teacher was like, this is offensive.
Well, it wasn't directed at the teacher, so...
Yeah, I guess the teacher kind of read that it was directed since they are transgender. When reading that essay.
The teacher's gender, huh?
Yeah, but either way, regardless of the student's beliefs, she failed that paper well over, besides if we don't even consider her beliefs.
Yeah.
It was a terrible paper. I looked out, I'm like, this is college? This is something somebody writes in 8th grade. It was kind of interesting how it's like, how did you get this far in college writing these types of papers and you didn't even get the word count? at least get the word count.
Parents ask that question every day about these universities. How is it possible this is going on in these universities? We wonder every day.
Yeah.
Even at the high school grade level, we're like math, English, science, and reading. Just stick to that, and the rest of the stuff is so irrelevant. I mean, couldn't imagine going through that stuff right now, but peace be with you. Nice show, dearie.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. So that was. I don't think they're gonna do much coverage on that afterwards. But yeah, it's education system is very, very complex in that sense that they're allowing some things to happen and then some things don't happen. So it is quite a world because you think that, and they had that whole thing happening where the government was like, by the way, these degrees aren't considered professional anymore, but that actually just means that they aren't going to get certain amount of funding, and they claim that it's going to lower the cost to do certain degrees. Now, people were upset about that because a lot of the degrees that they were looking at are either female dominated and or in like within healthcare. Now, to not make it a term of like, oh, you're just going and attacking the women, feminists rise up, like, and they're not trying to do that. It's more so that they look at it, they say, oh yeah, by the way, your degree is not considered professional anymore. People are like, well, what is my degree then? And some people were making jokes saying, well, if my degree is not considered professional, does that mean that my students student loans. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word for a second. Now my student loans are forgiven since it's not a professional degree and they'll be null and void. So it is. It's very interesting because then they're like, okay, well, we want to cut funding from the Department of Education, but a lot of the funding for education goes to other programs other than what people are thinking like their first intentions are. And if they cut the funding for a lot of these, I look at it and I think it's just because I see a direct effect for my family at least for funding for those who are special needs and they are in the special education classes. If that funding gets cut, I'm sure that they're going to lose a lot of funding for that, and at the state level, and if they are in private schools as well, that funding is going to be affected. Now, I know that private schools don't get government funding, but still, donors and all that. But for public education, if you cut those fundings, those services, a lot of these kids that do need these services won't get them, and it may not start at the younger ages, but as they get older, there are some children who have to stay in school based on their special needs, and if they can't go to school and they can't get the education that they need and or the services that they need, what are the parents going to do at then? And if they do, and if they are able to get the services, they're going to come at a much more expensive cost. So it's kind of interesting to think of, and I hope that they find a solution, even though, yes, that is probably looking through a rose-colored glasses situation. But it is 8:51. I am going to let them get the studio set up so we can get started at 9 o'clock, so we can get started on time for Mastering Local Marketing. There is going to be 2 episodes, the 99th and 100th episode, so please stay tuned for that. And the podcast that Jim was talking about earlier with the cow guy, I'll probably edit that today, and we'll see if we can get that posted on Friday, if not Saturday. That podcast will be recorded every Tuesday, hopefully be out by every Wednesday. And it's a very, very interesting story that the cow guy has to tell. And I was hearing them talk a little bit about it, and I was very much engaged with the story, even though, yes, all the podcasts, you have to know what everybody's talking about, but I was very engaged with his story, and it's a very interesting one, especially when they also talk about the Board of Trade. So be on the lookout for that podcast. And I'm trying to think, when I don't know what the title is gonna be. I know we're all disagreeing on it because if you call a podcast a cow guy, you're automatically gonna think it's a farming podcast. So we're gonna come up with something, and it should be out shortly. And we're gonna try to get. I don't know how many podcasts we actually have right now. Let me take a look at that because I don't think we've hit the 25 mark. We might have. Let's see here. Because there are some podcasts that are on hold due to us just having to set them up. And alongside with the podcast, we will get our social media up and running as well. So we will be on, for at least WGOB, because I know Heartland has their own Facebook. And for a while, we were posting on our sports network, Facebook, and it was kind of shared. So then now we're going to try and get an Instagram, Facebook, and I don't know if we can have a TikTok. And if we can, that would be great. We can see if we can try to get all of our hosts to do different trends. But let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so it'll make it our 20th podcast. There we go. I think we did say something when we first started this that we wanted 20 by the end of the year, and we did hit that mark. Very very close, but we did hit that mark. So I'm very excited. Thank you guys so much for supporting our podcast network as well as our YouTube, and we are going to end it there so that way we can get set up. Don't go anywhere because Mastering Local Marketing 99th and 100th episode are coming up next. You've been listening to Adrianna in the AM on WJOB 1230 AM 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana. We will be right back.